Good evening. Good evening. Good night. Good night. Good evening. If you were waiting, sorry I am late. It seems that Twins and I might have gotten our wires crossed because I was waiting for him and he didn't show up. So I am hoping he does show up because, again, this show is built on having the male female perspective. And in every discussion, I think the male female perspective is important. So I am hoping that Twins and I just got our wires crossed and he's just going to be a little bit late. But if for some reason Twins doesn't join, as usual, I have the link in the comment section, and so anybody who is interested in what I'm going to be talking about can absolutely join the conversation because I said, like, I like to have a balanced conversation, and I don't think it helps if we only have one perspective. I don't think that helps. Anyhow, I hope everybody's week has been good. If you are watching, let me know how your week has been. Mine has been pretty good. It is getting cold in Toronto. It is getting cold. Like I was headed to the gym yesterday, and if you're new here, I walk to the gym. I walk like 2.5 kilometers to the gym, which is a little bit over about a mile and a half. If you're in the U.S., downhill. My walk is downhill. Then I go to the gym. I work out for about an hour 15, and then I walk back home. And I was quickening my steps yesterday because it is starting to get cold in Toronto. My birthday is actually next month, and I'm just thinking about going on a 4 day vacation to somewhere tropical by myself to decompress because I don't do cold well. Like I people always laugh at me and say, "But you live in Canada," and I'm like, I wasn't born here. I live in Canada. Yeah, I do, but it doesn't mean that I like the cold because I absolutely do not like no part of me um likes the cold. So like yeah, I think I need to get out of here. I'm planning to go away November. I'm very close to booking a trip for next month for like four nights, and then I'm going away in March again because I cannot do consecutive months of cold weather. I think it's cruel and unusual punishment, and I am not about it at all. So that is what's been going on my week. My weekend is pretty low key. I honestly don't do a lot. I think people think I'm like out here in these streets, and I'm not. I am inside my house a lot, quite a bit. Maybe that's why I'm single because nobody gets to see me. But I digress. I'm not about my single life right now. I digress. But my weekend, I'm gonna go meet a girlfriend, which I love hanging out with my girls. Unfortunately, now everybody has to schedule everything. We can't just do spontaneous things. I honestly miss the days where you could call somebody, be like, "Are you free? Okay, you want to meet up in an hour?" And everybody's like, "Yep, I'm down. Where are we going?" Now it's like we're taking out schedules and calendars and putting dates in group chats. This person, it's just like too much. I'm going to relish the days you can go back and everybody's like, "Yep, I'm ready. I'll see you in an hour." Now we're booking things 3 weeks out to get together for 2 hours. Insane. But anyways, the life of busy adult individuals. I'm actually trying to delay and hoping that Twins joins me because I have no idea what happened. We were talking yesterday and he was good and he has the link and now today I'm not sure what's going on, but I still want to have this conversation because I think this conversation is important. And like I said, if you are joining and you want to be a part of the conversation, I have linked the link to join the stream in the comment section. So all you have to do is click on it. You'll go backstage and I will let you in because this myth of the strong black woman is something that I talked about in my book, No Handouts for Black Girls. And I'm actually going to read an excerpt from the book. But I really wanted to hear from men. This is why I don't really want to go too far in this until I know Twins is definitely not joining or one of you men jump into the conversation because I wanted to hear the male's perspective on this concept of, and it's not just the strong woman, it is always the strong Black woman. And I will, like I said, read an excerpt from my book so you can get my very clear thoughts about what I think about that. But there is this idea that Black women have had to be strong for X reason, right? There's always a reason why we've had to be strong, or we've had to be independent, or we have, more masculine energy, or we're not able to be vulnerable. Like there's always a myriad of reasons of why we're unable to be what others feel are other counterparts, whether it be Asian women or white women, and it's usually about Asian and white women. People feel that they're softer, and there's like, well, Black women have had to be this way because of X. And so I wanted to talk about that and challenge it a little bit, and challenge it in a way in terms of, okay, so if that's what we've had to be, what is the impact of that? What is the impact of that on us women, our families, and the men in our life? What is the impact of the strong Black woman narrative? Because I've always felt if I'm going to change the conversation around Black relationships, part of that is dispelling some of the things I think that we have held on as a badge of honor, which may or may not be quite a badge of honor, and it's actually become detrimental to where we are today. Like, and let's just be clear, like, no matter how we try to spin it, we're not the same as we were 20 years ago. Shit, we're barely the same as we were 5 years ago in interpersonal relationships, right? I think about, dating and being married 20 years ago. I wasn't, no, I'm going to be 46. I got married at 28. But, my dating life at this point 20 years ago was very different than my dating life now. Even my dating life in 2019 is different than my dating life now. Like, I feel like people have fundamentally changed. Like, COVID fundamentally shifted how people even interact. But I think a lot of the times we've hardened ourselves, and I'm trying to figure out why. I'm trying to figure out exactly why did we become hardened. And as in we, a lot of it has to do with women, right? Because again, we're going to talk specifically about women tonight, and we can absolutely have a whole conversation just about men and some of the myths around Black men. But I hear this topic being discussed all the time, and I hear it being discussed in the context of what it's done to Black families and what it's done to Black women and Black men relationships, and the impact that this is having. And so I'm curious to know, again, happy for anybody to join me if they want to co-host with me tonight, just in case Twins doesn't actually show up, or as usual, put your comments in the comment section, because as usual, I'm looking to hear what this is about. So I did see a clip where a gentleman was explaining his take on this concept. And I'm going to play that clip. And in addition, once again, I'm going to read an excerpt from my book, No Handouts for Black Girl. This is like one of my pride and joys, and this will go down as one of my legacies. I think this book is fantastic. If you do not have a copy of No Handouts for Black Girls, I think definitely get it. It is at Amazon, it's at Barnes and Noble. It's even in the Toronto Public Library. So I'm super proud of this book, and you'll understand why when I read that excerpt. So I'm going to go to this clip. I'm going to play this clip. I'd love again for those of you in the comment section to share your thoughts about this clip, and then I'm going to read the excerpt from my book about the strong Black women. So give me one moment, and I'm going to pull this up.
Ever meet a woman who's so put together you assume she's good? You assume she doesn't need anything? Well, that's the problem. Most men don't realize just how many women became independent because they had no other choice. She's tired, not from life, but from doing everything life is supposed to support her in. She's been the therapist, the planner, the emergency contact, and the backbone for people who don't even ask if her back ever hurts. And you know what's wild? Half of y'all brag about wanting a strong woman, but don't even know how to hold one. You just like how her strength makes your weakness less obvious. She doesn't cry around you because she's tired of comforting men after being vulnerable. She doesn't ask for help because the last time she did, he made her feel like a burden for needing anything at all. So yeah, she's strong, not because she wants to be, but because every time she tried to rest, someone dropped her and then applauded her for how fast she picked herself back up. So if you meet her, don't compliment her strength. Ask her how long she's had to fake it, and then shut up and listen.
God, this is why I'm going to miss Twins for this show because I definitely want to hear what other men think about what that young man just said. And he's clearly a younger man than I think most of the people who watch this show. And from a woman's perspective, I'm going to say that there is some truth to what he said, but that's not just in male female relationships. If a woman has taken on those character traits that the strong, independent Black woman is supposed to have, she also has those character traits in her female relationship. She's the strong friend, so she doesn't cry around her friends, right? She doesn't show signs of weakness. She's the one who's always go, 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 go. She's the one who, if there's a breakup or something happens in her life, she's just, okay, there's a bad moment and I'm going to move past it because life has to keep going, right? Like these character traits that she has taken on isn't just in a male female dynamic. And I think that's the mistake that I think a lot of people make because they attribute that only to the male female interpersonal dynamic as if she's something else to everybody else, which is not true. Because how could she be? How was she strong and independent for the men, but she's this vulnerable wallflower for her female friends, for her coworkers, for her family members, for her children? She's not. So it's not just the male female relationship that's impacted, it's her relationship overall. So I'm actually going to read from my own book my thoughts about the um, strong, independent Black woman. So again, this is coming from my book, No Handouts for Black Girls. I'm just going to read you a little bit of an excerpt. But again, I would love if you're watching live to hear your thoughts. So here is the excerpt, and it starts on page 14. When I graduated from university, I felt as though I could and would take over the world. I knew I still had a lot to learn, but what I did already would allow me to kick the world's ass. After all, I completed my degree while putting in full time hours at my part time job. If this didn't show the world what I was made of, clearly it wasn't paying close enough attention. What I wish I had known then is that it's okay not to know. I wish someone had sat me down and said, Toshiba, don't have to know it all. It's okay to stop trying to be everything to everybody and be there for yourself. Though this may sound simple to some, life's hard as a Black woman, and it only gets harder the more responsibilities we have and the more people depend on us. However, it's essential. Scrap that. It's mandatory for us to stop when yet another person comes to us for an answer or solution to a problem we had no hand in creating and simply tell them, I don't fucking know. I'm going to challenge you starting today that instead of being the knower of all, you will take the time you need to get your shit together and tell the people in your personal life, I'm closed for business. If you need something, y'all are just going to have to figure it out because I ain't got nothing for you today. No easy task, but it's damn well necessary in order for us to thrive. I'm not oblivious to the fact that the weights we carry may be very different than those of our non melanated counterparts, but we have been carrying around the title of strong black woman like some fucking badge of honor for generations, and that damn title is a fallacy. Yes, I called it a fallacy. It's an egregious lie that has only served to harm us more than help. We have been running around trying to save everyone and their mama like some damn superhero with babies on our tits and backs, all while cooking, cleaning, teaching, healing, never once stopping to realize we are broken and dying inside and in some need and in need and in need of some help of our own. We have so convinced society we don't need anyone's help that when we do put our hand out for assistance, we're given a high five instead of a helping hand. That same hand we need to save us from drowning because our rescuers don't realize and we're stubbornly refuse to tell them our black asses can't swim. We've been such great actors and have convinced everyone around us, including ourselves, that we are the only ones suited to play the role of warrior princess. Like what the fuck? Who would we be if not her? Question mark. White women have cornered the market on vulnerability and fragility, so that role is taken. What else we got? Question mark. So, as you can tell, again, pick up my book, No Handouts for Black Girl. I know my channel is primarily male, but if you have a woman in your life, I would suggest you pick this up and give it to her. It is called No Handouts for Black Girl, a love letter to us. I wrote this as a love letter to Black women who needed something else. And not everyone, no, I talk about it in the book. This book isn't for everyone, but it's for someone. Um, and if it's not for the person you give it to, trust me, they know somebody that it's for. And then again, this book was a labor of love, and I really dug deep. But as you can tell from what I had to say, I think the whole concept of the strong black woman is a fallacy. And we needed an identity, and the identity of vulnerability and fragility belonged to white women. White women could be fragile, and white women could be vulnerable. And vulnerability was seen as weakness, and we were never going to be weak because we had to be strong. We had to be strong for everybody. But why? Why? I'm still waiting for someone to give me the answer to why. And I'm gonna speak. And I always have to say I speak as a non African American woman, right? I don't pretend to understand the trials and tribulations of someone who lives in America, but I am a black woman and I am an immigrant and I've had to come into a country as a foreigner and make my way. So I do have some experience, and I think it is easy to blame why we've had to be strong on the lack of presence of men in the home. But for those of us with men in the home, or those of us who were raised by men, that's not accurate. We had men in the home. So why are we being given that badge when we didn't need to? We didn't need to do all of the things that the men should have done, but there was no men there, so we had to take that on. If you had a man in the home or men in the home because you had brothers and a father or an uncle or a grandfather or what, why are you identifying with this concept? Well, based on what you just heard me say in my book, is because we needed an identity, and the identity was strength, because strength was what we had to take on. Because again, in our minds, true or not, white women had cornered vulnerability. White women were fragile. We were not fragile. And if something is not fragile, then it's the opposite of that. And the opposite of being fragile is strength, something that's strong. And so there's nothing wrong with being strong because I consider myself a very strong woman. I consider myself a very resilient woman. There is something about using a title you didn't want in the first place to then take it and weaponize it against the men who are trying to love you. That's what it's become. And allowing others to weaponize our strength against our men, that's when it becomes a problem. Because I can be strong at work. I have to be. I have to be strong at work. Nobody wants to be walked over at work. In certain positions, you have to employ strength and confidence and all of those things. But those are things that may not work in your personal life. So, do you carry everything into your personal life? Is it necessary? Or are you protecting yourself from realities you don't want to face about your personal life? Because I will tell you again, get my book. I talk about the fact that I used to lie to myself. A lot of us do. I used to lie to myself about why I wasn't getting the results in my personal life. And I'm I'm not going to ruin the book for you, but I literally have a chapter that is entitled You're Single Because You're a Bitch. I don't know if you guys can see closely, you know that I'm not lying. That is one of the titles. It is chapter 8 in my book. I'm very raw and open and real in this book. And again, it's a damn good book. I reread my book the other day. I was on the plane going to Huntsville, Alabama, and I reread my book and I had to text my editor, who's also one of my closest friends, and I was like, bitch, we wrote a damn good book. This book is really good. Anyway, so I think one of when you take on a title, whether that title is deserving or not, you then have to play a role. If someone has, how do I put this? I work with certain people and they have certain titles. And irregardless of whether their skill sets align with that title, they have to play the role that their skill sets align with that title, because if it is found out that their skill sets don't align with that title, then they won't have that title anymore and they won't have that job and they're out of a position, which means that they're back on the job market trying to be back out there and get someone to pick them for a job and become the best candidate they can for a new job. When we have been given an identity and it is one, and I don't know why the concept of being strong and independent is so revered. Let me tell you something. That shit is exhausting. It is exhausting. It is exhausting to think that you're the knower of all, the fixer of all, the healer of all, the nurturer of all. You know everything. It is exhausting. If you have a position in your organization where people come to you to fix things that you did not break, they did, but they come to you because they feel you're the knower of all and you're going to make it all better. You know how exhausting that shit is. So why do we want to carry that into our personal life for the other half of our day? I don't want to do that. It is exhausting. It is an exhausting, it is an exhausting position to have. And so this is why I'm saying that it's a fallacy. Independence and being a strong, independent woman and being a strong Black woman, it's a fallacy. It's a gimmick. It's a marketing tool. When the Great Resignation happened in the United States of America, I happened to be there at that time, and I was engaged to a wonderful man whose career I was helping to drive forward. And when the Great Resignation, I read an article about the Great Resignation happening, and it happened to be in the field that he worked in, and it was one of the fields that they were like, people are just retiring, and if there's a great opportunity. So I said to him, you know what, I'm going to go up there, you're going to get a new job, blah 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 blah. As I continued to read the article, they were talking about the impact on the Great Resignation on different races, and the race of people, or the people who could not take advantage of this Great Resignation. And what, just look it up. The Great Resignation was, again, basically people deciding during COVID that they were done, they were going to retire, they were going to start their own business, or they were just done. They were not working anymore. They were going to move away. Black American women were the people, the article stated, that were the ones who were least able to take advantage of the Great Resignation, because they were the ones not in dual income homes. Disproportionately, they were in single income homes. So while their white counterparts, their Latina counterparts, their Asian counterparts, their Indian counterparts, all of those counterparts were able to take advantage of the idea that they could just take a second because COVID beat us up. Black women were staying in the workplace disproportionately over those other race of women because they were unable to take advantage of the Great Resignation. How the fuck does that work? How the fuck did that help us? How the fuck does being strong and independent help you when you are in a space where you have had to go through, if in our lifetime, okay, one of the hardest things we had to go through, and now you don't even get to take part in something that's happened because you're in a single income household? How does being strong and independent help you then? Mr. Thank God you're here. You say you cannot, and I need to always be scrolling up. You cannot be independent and in a romantic relationship. They literally contradict each other. Well, they do. You require interdependence in any interpersonal relationship. And this is the issue I have with the narrative, is because they focus so much on the male female or the romantic partnership. For any interpersonal relationship, you require interdependence. I depend on you, you depend on me. I depend on my best friends to provide me certain things in life, and they depend on me. My mother depends on me for certain things, I depend on her for certain things. My daughter depends on me for certain things, and I depend on her for certain things. My father, God rest his soul, rest in peace, daddy, depended on me for certain things, and I depended. And the list goes on. It does not have to be a romantic relationship. And again, we harp on these concepts, and I really want Black women to understand how marketing and marketing companies target us to be independent, because there are people making billions, not just millions, billions of dollars from these strong, independent Black women. Don't believe me? Google it. Google all the research that's been done. Am I saying that Black women are not strong? Absolutely not. Am I not saying that there are benefits to being independent? Absolutely not. But when you take on the cape and say, I'm a strong, independent woman, you are saying that you are not dependent on anything or anyone, which doesn't make any sense because life requires interdependence. Being able, and here's, you know what the funny thing is? Let me tell you something. Being able to change a faucet in your kitchen if you bought a home is it you being strong and independent. It's you being fucking resourceful. It's nothing to do with independence. You have a broken faucet in your home. You live in a single income home. You don't want to go spend money to have a plumber come over. So you go on Google and you figure something out and then you go to Home Depot and you purchase it and you fix it and you applaud yourself. That is not independence. That's resourceful. Mister, if we don't depend on each other for anything, there's no reason to be together. You give me what I don't have, and I give you what you don't have. That's literally life. That is literally life. That is literally how life happens. That is how we actually survive. That is how, as just as a basic human, we survive because of interdependence. And so the narrative that is being pushed towards us, I just want us to wake up again. Go get no handouts for Black girls. Okay? I just want us to wake up and realize that this has become a huge marketing and advertising scheme. And it is being perpetuated, especially to African American women, and I say that respectfully as a non-African American woman because I hear more African American women saying that they don't need, don't want, blah, 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 a man, blah, 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 blah. None of my and I be honest, I don't have any actual African American women friends. All of my friends are non-African American women. We're mostly Caribbean women, and never have I heard any of my friends and we sit down and talk about we don't need no man. We might be pissed at a man. We might have had a bad breakup. We might have had a bad date. But I can tell you in the almost 30 years I have been friends with my best friends. We have never had a sit down power talk, but I don't need no man. We might not date at the moment. We might need to get ourselves together, but we are not rah rah sis kumbayaing over our mutual disregard for a natural interpersonal relationship with a black man. That is ridiculous. It serves us no purpose. And I want us to start redefining some of these concepts. What I just described to you about the faucet, where yeah, this is what happens when I'm an independent woman. No, you're freaking resourceful. That's what that was. That was being resourceful. That was not being independent. You didn't have a choice but to do it by yourself because you don't live with someone. Had you lived with someone, that someone would have likely done it for you. You had another option, which was to go and get a plumber to do it, but you understood what that would cost you. And because you are a single income household, instead of going to spend money you may not want to spend or simply don't have, you became resourceful and did it yourself. You see how that quick change of words changes the whole concept? If I'm not in a relationship and I need something done on my car and I'm like shit, like I'll give an example. I needed when I had my last car, I had a white BMW. Her name was Belle. She was beautiful. Okay. And I wanted to switch out the lights in the car so that when you open my car door, you would see it would come out and the BMW would shine on the floor. I had just regular white lights, didn't like them. I just didn't think that it did my car no justice. So what did I do? I went to Google. I found out what I needed to do. They told me I just need to go under my car, pop the lights out. I went on Amazon. I bought the BMW thing. They arrived. I remembered what they said on YouTube. I popped it out. I popped it the other two lights in on both sides, and then I opened my car door, and there was BMW. That has nothing to do with me being independent. That was me being resourceful. I wanted something. I didn't have a man to do it. I didn't want to pay my mechanic to do it because once I learned out how easy it was on YouTube, why would it would be stupid for me to go pay somebody something that I could have just done I literally did it in 30 seconds. What am I supposed to go around and say, woman, look at me, I'm a strong, independent woman and know how to change my life? Get the F out of here. Mister, that's literally why we have global trade. We don't have oil and Saudi Arabia doesn't have steel. So we maintain a mutually beneficial relationship with them by trading these two resources. Now you're going too above most people's head with that. Because again, simple enough, right? I don't have something, you have that thing. Now it's balanced. You have the thing to give me, and I, of course, would give you something else. It's an exchange. Relationships are all about exchange. Relationships are all about, that's why it's interdependent. That's why relationship requires interdependent. That's why it is important to depend upon another person and be dependable. A relationship is not going to work if you're dependent on someone, but you're never a dependable person, right? That's why I call it interdependent. And so if you are hell bent on being independent, how can you be useful to someone else? You can't be dependable because you insist on being independent. Or if you are depending on them, but then they can't depend on you. That doesn't work. And I think we just need to get rid of these tropes, these again, these tropes that we hold on to that are not benefiting us at all. There is no financial, emotional, spiritual, physical benefit to a Black woman taking on the strong Black woman ideal as if it's a badge of honor when it is a fallacy. Again, I talk about it in the book. I talk about the fact that so many Black women are dying from diseases that are actually caused by stress and lack of taking care of ourselves because we are stressed unnecessarily. We make choices and decisions that continue to perpetuate stress. And so we are dying at from diseases that our counterparts are not. Now, I don't live in America once again, and I hear about your healthcare system. I live in Canada. Our healthcare system is free. I can go to the doctor if I have a paper cut. I can go to the hospital right now. I might sit there for a couple of hours, or they'll look at my paper cut, won't charge me a thing, and send me home. Well, I completely understand that our systems are different, but the reality is, if my understanding is, if you're a working person, you have insurance, and you can go to the hospital. So why is it that Black women are disproportionately dying from diseases that their counterparts are not? A lot of the research that it has to stress. And what is stress? Because you wanted to be strong and independent. And companies made billions off of your strength and independence. Billions. Let me repeat again. Companies are making billions. Black African American women could not join the Great Resignation the same way their female counterparts of other races could because of being in single income households, because we're running around talking about we're strong and independent and don't need no man. How's that working out for you, sis? How did that work out for us in COVID when we were hunkered down alone? That worked out when your counterparts were able to quit their jobs in their dual income household and start their businesses or their mommy blogs what the hell they did now that they didn't have the pressure to go to yoga. I don't know, at 10 a.m. because they could, because they had a spouse, the one that you said you don't need because you're strong and independent. How is that working out for you in the long run? And yes, it sounds great when you come on the other shows and talk about I make my own money and I this and I don't need and I can buy my own house and I can buy my own car. I don't know anybody who was on their deathbed and said, I am so happy I was so strong and independent and could buy my own car and house, but didn't have strong interpersonal relationships. Because that's what we're going to be bragging about in heaven, was the house and the car, not the impact we had on other people's lives, not the joy we brought to other people. None of that. I, I just need us to wake up and realize that we are been selling falsities. Black women, you're being sold falsities. I've been sold falsities as a black woman. Again, pick up my book. No handouts for black girls. A love letter to us. It's very strongly worded love letter, but it's a love letter nonetheless because a lot of people are making a lot of money selling you a lot of bullshit. So that's it. That's the show. Mr. Miss said it would have been nice to quit my job during the pandemic, but instead I was out there working my ass off the whole time. I was consulting. I lived in a dual income household, and my ex worked, and I consulted, and I took a consulting contract, and I worked a few hours a week, and I did my shows, and I cooked dinner, lunch, breakfast, and I went to the gym, and I went hiking. I worked out like I was in the best shape of my life. I worked out like 3 hours a day, every day. I took his child, like I was living the life. And since we've not been together, my life has been different because I'm in a single income household. That shit sucks. It sucks. Awful. I don't wish it upon anybody. It sucks. It. I don't want this for myself. How does this benefit us in any way, shape, or form? It does not. So, my dating advice tonight, and Mr. Thank you for joining. If you have one, please put it in the comment section. This is a very short show. I have to actually um, check on Twins to make sure he's okay because, like I said, it is weird for him not to join the show. But my dating tip for the evening would be think about the life you're currently living and decide if this is how you want to live for the rest of your existence. And if your answer is no, then start taking steps to change that. I can tell you for myself where I am right now as a single woman living in a single income household. Because even though my daughter lives with me, she doesn't count. I pay the bills in here. She's my baby. She doesn't need to do anything. Um, this is not the life for me. I don't want this. I've had it on both ends. I don't like this. I don't enjoy this. I, I don't wish this on my worst enemy. I don't want this. I don't like it. I don't like it. There's no benefit in this for me. I know what it's like on the other side, and there is there is mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial benefit to being on the other side that I was on. There's a lot of upside on that side. And for a lot of women, they might feel like there's a lot of upside on the side that I'm on right now. Not so much. Not when you compare the two and I pros and cons. So really think about it. Shut out all the noise. Shut out the noise. Shut out all the social media noise. Shut out all the noise from your girlfriends or your mamas or whoever. Okay? Shut out the noise and think to yourself, if this was my existence for now until the day I close my eyes, is this what I want for myself? Mr. Thank you so much for always coming through. So Mr. Dating Tip is appreciate people now while they are still here. Don't take people for granted just because you make money and do adult things with it. Right? So that's it. That's the show. I need to go check on Twins to make sure he's okay. I know this show is not the same when it's not the male female dynamic, but I want to give a big shout out to Mr. as usual for coming through for me and helping me get through this show by myself, even doing the show as a single person. You see what I'm saying? Like, even doing the show as a single person has its downside. So I appreciate everyone. I will see you guys next week. Be safe. Be safe. Give someone you love a hug because you never know if that's the last time you'll be able to do that. So have a great night, everyone. And again, big shout out to Mr. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye.